Chris Cuomo here. Welcome, my brothers and sisters, to NewsNation. This is where, together, we look for a way out of the darkness. So, I'm bothered by a growing trend on social media right now. Americans, mostly younger ones, are announcing they want to leave the United States. They call themselves Trump UGs. Do we have a generation of, like, Rosie O'Donnells? People so pissed they want to be expats? How real is it? Well, this isn't something that the government actually tracks, at least not closely. The estimate is about like 9 million Americans at any time live abroad. Now, that's a skewed statistic, too, because are they saying they don't want to be Americans anymore, or they still want to be Americans, but they want to live somewhere else? I don't know. Now, usually, it is war that sends Americans abroad. The draft dodgers in the 60s, the so-called lost generation after World War I. Remember that, when all the artists went over there to Europe? Wrote all those books, Hemingway and all that. But this seems different. A recent poll found that 42% of Americans have considered or plan to move out of the country. That includes 63% of Gen Z, 52% of millennials. You notice you don't see Gen X in there. You know why? Because my generation is the last hard generation. That's why. We're not the greatest generation. We're not our parents. We're not our grandparents. But compared to the ones that followed us, the ability to suffer, the desire to stick and endure and improve is in short supply. Now, many are citing dissatisfaction with political leadership as a major reason to relocate, hence the moniker. The top countries they want to move to: Canada, England, Australia, France, Italy, Japan, and Mexico. Let me be clear. None of those countries come close to offering what America does, okay? Which is why so many people here come from those places. Yes, I'm biased, okay? I love America. And part of that is because I've traveled more than most, especially here. Only about half this country has ever been outside the country, okay? America is flawed. America is floundering right now in many ways. She is not what she could be, nor what she should be, okay? You gotta be honest about ourselves. But let me put it this way. It is easy to say that America sucks, that America is the worst, until you compare it to anywhere else. And we all know that anybody can play with data, but here's the kill shot. There is one country, when you go around this world, that is almost the consensus pick of where the people that you visit would like to be, if not where you find them: America. Now, you can argue that, well, that's about the idea of America, Cuomo, not the reality. All right, let's talk the reality, okay? Where does the rest of the world want to go? America, by a long shot, okay? Why? America has the #1 economy with the most open jobs. And for all this talk about manufacturing and how we're destroyed and we have none and it's all gone and it was stolen, China's #1. Guess who's #2? Us. Now, I'm not bragging. Yay, #2. You always want to be the best. Of course you do. But the idea that we're the worst, I don't think so. And you know where we have, the most unique opportunity for people? In manufacturing jobs that are open right now. Who leads the world in technological innovation? Us. Who leads the world in medical innovation? Us. Who leads the world in investing in AI, which is the future of our economy, better or worse? Us, okay? Culture, content, us, okay? Higher education. 8 of the top 10 universities are where? America, okay? Global household income. Top 5, America. And we have the strongest military. Now, don't get it twisted, okay? I'm not saying anything about perfection. I'm not saying anything about an ideal. I'm not saying anything about being finished. This is an experiment, this place, and we are struggling right now, and we are making our own problems, okay? And we're making people rich who are driving our problems. Economic opportunity to live the dream of succeeding or failing on your own merits is best manifested in America. But we also have something else. And it does have to be cherished, and it needs to be protected, especially right now, and that is the right to be free. Our country's got its share of political violence. We all know it. But compared to what? One of the countries that Americans say they want to immigrate to, and I'm laughing because it's a joke, is Mexico. You want to live in Mexico instead of America? Are you serious? And you have safety on your mind or political violence? Listen, don't get it twisted. Again, you know, we have problems here and we've got to work on them, and we're not working on them. We're working on making them worse. But Mexico? Here's my biggest concern, okay? We have problems that we're not really addressing, that we should not have in America, okay? The idea that we have health issues, obesity issues, with the access, you know, as troubled as it is, our access to medicine, to healthcare is so much better than just about anywhere else in the world. And yet we have such health issues, lower life expectancy, higher infant mortality rate. You know about obesity. And in the same way that we're not exhibiting the hunger to get better as a people as we once did. We got low test scores all across the board. We lead the world in gun deaths, okay? Now, what's that about? It's about access, okay? We have more guns than people, but it's also about opportunity. We are violent, and we see violence as a legitimate end to our grievances. We rank among the worst for fake news spread on social media. Now, that's a twofer, okay? Why? That is a blessing and a curse. Our freedom is so much stronger than anywhere else in the world when it comes to free speech. And that's why it's got to be cherished. That's why it's got to be protected. That's why our period right now is troubling. Yes, speech has a bullseye on it, and we've got to talk about that, and we've got to protect it. But our social media is reckless, and it is ruinous because of our freedom. I'm telling you, my signature cause, the things that just keep me motivated in this job, okay? Talking about mental health, its manifestation in our society, the lack of treatment, the stigma of it, how it manifests itself in so many of our problems, matters to me. How we don't embrace addiction as an illness, as an extension of mental health, matters to me. Social media, the companies not having responsibility for what they are absolutely creating, is at the top of the list. Top of the list, okay? You have to level the playing field of responsibility across all media, specifically social media companies, who are now the richest. And how did they get rich? By pushing poison for profit. Why is everybody obsessed with clickbait? Why are they all fomenting controversy? Why is it all about conflict? Why is it all about animus and anger? Because that's what they amplify with their algorithms. That's where they put their ads. That's how you get reach. It's intentional. They are amplifying division for profit. To me, it makes them no better than a guy stepping on coke with fentanyl, except it's legal, and it's got to change, okay? Now look, I don't want to see people go. I know a lot of people are going to say, go, go, go. You don't want to be here. Not me. I don't want to see you go. We need to grow. We're dying more. We're making less babies. And if we stop allowing in immigrants, it's only going to get worse. But to leave because it's going to be better somewhere else, unless you're healthy and really wealthy, good luck with that. My counsel is that this problem is an extension of our manufactured division. I know it looks dark for a lot of you in terms of where we are and where we're headed. I know it's well, I know it well. I know the fear. It's been a scary time for my family. I don't talk about it because that's part of the security situation, right? Social media is out of control on purpose, and it has amplified our worst qualities, and I am sure it is behind this latest movement. But let me tell you something. I'm not going anywhere because America is worth staying and fighting the good fight to make her what she can be. A place that is driven from people from other places who come in here to make us better, to combine our talents, to combine our strengths, and to be e pluribus unum, okay? Out of many, one. The sooner we get back to that, the sooner we get out of this poison period, and we know the solution. It is time to say enough. I don't want to hear what's wrong. We know You're not going to tell me anything I don't know about why things are worse and who is to blame. That's what is easy. America needs to get back to what she does that is hard, what makes us great. Okay? Not again, are great, because we have the ability to be obsessed with better. And it takes me to my lead. You know what we got to do better with? China. They are our biggest problem. Not Putin. He's a punk, relatively. He is. He's a punk. Trump buffed him up too much. Now he's backing off it. We'll see where that leads. But China is going nowhere as a nemesis. And I think they just tried one of the biggest tech attacks ever. Okay? So we have the UNGA here, right? The United Nations General Assembly. Everybody in New York City always goes crazy about it because everyone's on edge and you can't get anywhere, you know? It's like having 100 presidents here. So the President of the United States was the headliner today, and I know everybody's talking about his speech. To me, look, it just doesn't move the needle. I don't know why anybody is surprised by anything he said, by the way. But I wasn't paying attention to the speech. I was paying attention to the story of the security apparatus around it. The Secret Service thwarted what could have been a massive, debilitating attack on all of this city's cell service. They had a plan for a complete telecoms blackout. We have never seen anything like it, let alone how close they got. How close? What was the plan? NewsNation's Laura Ingle has it for us.
Hey, Chris. Well, we are here at the UN where that news broke today, and you mentioned it there. The Secret Service found out about this plot, and we have since learned that it was about 3 weeks ago that these raids took place on these safe houses that were located within a 35-mile radius of where I'm standing right now. We're talking about New Jersey, Westchester, New York, and in Queens. And you're taking a look at the screen right now. 300 SIM servers, which are kind of like these mini cities of information containing more than 100,000 SIM cards. And again, all concentrated in that circle that you see. These servers really could have taken down our entire network here. That's what we're being told. A source within the investigation says this was no teenager in a basement type of deal. This was a well-funded, well-organized setup that had direct threats to senior U.S. government officials, which is why the Secret Service got involved with all of this. There were multiple targets, we've been told, and there were multiple safe houses where the equipment was discovered that was worth several $1 million. Investigators so far have been able to pull some of the data off the SIM cards, and what they found so far are names that are linked to organized crime members, foreign governments, and people known to federal law enforcement. Now, if these servers and SIM cards were fired up the way they apparently were intended, law enforcement officials say not only could they have taken down cell towers, they could have gone all throughout New York City, crippling emergency services, and specifically during the United Nations General Assembly of what you just mentioned. Because so many people are here, security is tight. You think about a blackout during this time, and you've got a huge mess. And not only that, Chris, these SIM servers also had the ability of sending out multiple and massive text messages all at the same time. The number is 30 million a minute, which would have crashed multiple cell servers. So thankfully, the Secret Service got it under control. They are investigating along with Homeland Security Investigations and the Department of Justice. They're doing a multi-pronged approach to this to figure out who was behind it all. Chris.
My producer just told me, Laura, thank you very much, that they could have texted everyone in the United States in like just over 10 minutes. The question is, why? What did they want? What did they want to text? Yeah. And how did the Secret Service foil this attack? Two big questions. Let's get some answers. Laura, thank you very much. Stay safe. I want to turn to former Secret Service agent Paul Eckloff and former FBI and CIA agent Tracy Walder. It's good to have you both. Mr. Eckloff, let's start with this, the first one, which is, why would they do this? What's the goal?
Well, these SIM farms that have hundreds of thousands of cell phones are really fraud as a service, cybercrime as a service, or technically could be terror as a service. They allow bad actors from the dark web to dial in and have anonymous and encrypted communications with people in the United States. So this can be used for fraud, disruption, or potential sabotage. This could have been put in place to stop the entire communication system in New York, and if paired with a kinetic attack or a direct targeted attack on somebody, could have caused chaos at a time of geopolitical tension.
Hey, Tracy, let me ask you something. Why is it that if one Chinese guy came here from the Chinese military and shot a taxi cab, okay, and said, I did this for China, we would be like on the brink of conflict. But they do something like this, if the reporting is right, that they believe China was behind it, and like nothing happens. Is there a behind the scenes thing, do we know, or is there just so much mutual attacking that they don't tell the American people, but this is kind of like the price of the back and forth that we don't know is going on?
I think it's a little bit of both, Chris, if you want me to be completely honest. I think in this case, as Christopher Wray said back when he was FBI director, he said we were opening up a new CI case against China every 10 hours. So think about that. Every single FBI office has multiple Chinese CI cases open. So they are absolutely doing something about that. And this is case in point, obviously, what they found today. However, I think we're responding in terms of sanctions and those kinds of things, but this is not a kinetic attack. And so a lot of times the American public doesn't see that as something that is retaliatory that we should be engaging in nature. But the CIA and FBI and Secret Service are absolutely on top of it.
You ever heard anything like this?
Yes, quite frankly. They actually tried to impersonate a U.S. congressman just a few weeks ago who was anti their trade policies. And they did that through encrypted devices and through encrypted communications. So not on this scale, but it absolutely has happened before. And they did this back in January of 2025 as well.
Paul, why Secret Service? I don't connect them to this kind of cyber war usually. What do we not know about them?
Well, the Secret Service is the best in the world at some of these cyber investigations. But this whole investigation came about because of swatting and direct threats on the life of administration officials. Because of that exigent threat to the life of people potentially that could affect the line of succession of the presidency, the Secret Service was allowed to dip into their advanced threat interdiction unit and their critical systems protection to do downstream or upstream investigations of the source of those calls. And that's what led to this potentially devastating SIM server farm that really could have changed a lot of things. And it kind of lets us know that the future of warfare isn't necessarily bombs and guns. It'll come through technology hidden in plain sight. What I fear the most is the people that set it up that are still on U.S. soil.
Oh, that's right. They don't have them. They just got the operation. Good point. Good one to end on also. Hopefully they get them and we learn more. Paul Eckloff, thank you. Tracy Walder, as always, appreciate you. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. You know, one side note, okay? This is why our manufactured division is so dangerous. We have real enemies, okay? People who want to see us kill each other. People who want to see America fail. Why are we helping that? So, takes us to the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Look, I am interested in seeing what he has to say tonight. I think this is going to be a real moment, all right? Now, Roseanne Barr says, yeah, I went through this, and let me tell you something. This guy deserves to be canceled. She did a big interview with Brian Enton here. You're going to get to hear it. Plus, Stephen A. Smith. What does he think the problem is tonight for Kimmel, and does he see a solution? Next. Jimmy Kimmel making his return to late night tonight. Is that a surprise? Not to me. It happened pretty quick. Off the air for 6 days. So far, no real indication of what he's going to say, although I'll make any of you any kind of wager you want that he's not going to double down. And people who are putting that out on social media, isolate them. Look at them. They're part of the problem because they have no good reason to say that. They're only saying it to foment tension. So he put out a picture with himself with somebody who was really good to me after I got fired. We lost him recently. Norman Lear, okay? TV icon. He made all these amazing TV shows that you probably get canceled for all the time. All in the Family, The Jeffersons, Good Times. They were such windows into the struggle in America. And he put out this post with him saying, boy, we really miss him. I wonder what that is code for. So Stephen A. joins me. It's great to have you once again. We're living another relevant moment in our country together, and this was the dream for us. So I love being with you. And more success. Sirius XM, everybody is saying the show is what the place needed. The conversation for America on POTUS, awesome.
Thank you.
I'm not surprised, but I'm happy for you.
Thank you so much.
So, Rosie O'Donnell, Roseanne Barr, Rosie O'Donnell's hiding in Ireland. Roseanne Barr is not wrong to say that she was canceled by ABC after she posted a tweet that ABC found racist. okay? NewsNation senior correspondent Brian Enton gets an interview with Roseanne right now about Kimmel's cancellation. Listen to this.
What do you think about Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, Roseanne? And what do you make of ABC putting him back on tonight?
Well, I guess he got a 6-day suspension, just like when Whoopi Goldberg came out with her disgusting comments on the Holocaust. She got a 2-week suspension. It just shows how they think. I got my whole life ruined, my no forgiveness, and all of my work stolen, and called a racist for time and eternity, for racially misgendering someone, and so it just shows how they think. It's a double standard, so whatever. Jimmy purposely lied. And, that's you get your hand slapped for 6 days for that.
Do you think there's anything Jimmy could do tonight? Should he apologize? Is there anything he could do, you think, that could, make you happy, make people sort of forgive him?
Well, I think he'll cheer himself on, and his fans, 2,000 of them, they'll feel heartened and, like they won another battle against Trump and the people of the United States. So it'll be a big celebration. Oh, he's back, and he'll double down. That's what they do. They'll see it as a victory.
What would you say to Jimmy Kimmel if he happens to hear this?
Well, he won't ever hear it because they live in a bubble where all alternate views or any truth is kept from them. I'm a troll. And, I love to troll. And so I trolled on Jimmy. I go, gee, Jimmy, if you would have defended me, maybe this wouldn't have happened to you.
What's your take?
I'm so sick and tired of this noise. I got to admit it to you. You're sitting here right now next to a man that has worked under the Walt Disney umbrella for over 22 years. I have gotten in trouble. I have been suspended. I have had issues with the company from time to time in terms of what they may feel about something, but I would never speak about Disney and ABC the way that you hear her speaking about it, because the standard is the standard, and we're all aware of it. When you think about Jimmy Kimmel, for example, a person that I got a lot of love for, a lot of respect for, I filled in for him one night in August of 2021. I actually hosted Jimmy Kimmel Live, which was one of the greatest experiences of my career. And he's a great dude. He's a great, he's great at what he does, et cetera, et cetera. Not to take anything away from him, but what is considered ill-timed or insensitive. These are the things that are made very, very clear to you. Especially if you're a fabric under the Disney umbrella, these things. And so when folks go out and you say what you want to say and you think that you get to operate with impunity, chances are you never thought that at all. You were just willing to roll the dice and take a chance because you were that emotional, you were that upset, you were that compelled to say whatever it is that you wanted to say, that you felt the need to express yourself, to sort of exhale, and not thinking about the overall collateral impact and damage it may have. Let's take into account Jimmy Kimmel. Let's take into account Roseanne Barr, what she just finished saying. Yeah, you're a star and you got your money. What about all those people that work under you? What about in Jimmy Kimmel's case when Nexstar or Sinclair makes the decision to pull you off the airwaves and the other people, because I've got a bunch of friends in Hollywood, as you well know, and a lot of them were hanging outside Jimmy Kimmel Live when that show came up, when it was pulled from the air a few days ago. And you had a whole bunch of people walking out of his show wondering about their futures, wondering about their jobs, because they weren't making the exorbitant amount of dollars that he was making. What about then? And when you look at a guy like Bob Iger, who I happen to know pretty damn well, because I've been there for 22 years, this is not about society and its definition of what you're supposed to feel and what defines insensitive or what defines ill-timed or anything. He's the one that makes that decision for Disney. He's not thinking about society as much as he's thinking about Disney, because that's what he has control over. And so his mentality is going to be, we know what the standard is. We know what's going on here. And you have to operate accordingly. And you have some people along the way who have reached a point where they may not feel compelled at that particular moment to subscribe to that level of thinking under that umbrella. But you also have to know there are consequences. I'm not saying it braggadociously or anything like that. I'm the star of ESPN. I'm the face of ESPN. And everybody sits up there and say,
Sounds like you're bragging.
Stephen, I know it does, but I swear I'm not. But people will sit up there and say stuff like that. And I always remind everybody, I have a boss. His name is Dave Roberts. I got another boss. His name is Burke Magnus. I got another boss. His name is Jimmy Pitaro. I got another boss. His name is Bob Iger. Don't think for one second that it escapes me that I have an obligation to operate with a certain level of professionalism under that umbrella, because I have people that I answer to and people that I work for. Sometimes people forget that. And a company reminding you that that is indeed the case is not foreign. It happens.
I get it.
It's happened to you, it's happened to me, it's happened to everybody else. And we just need to be reminded of that.
That's the choice you make. Now, look, to me, a lot of this speculation, not with us, but that's going on around this, is just opportunistic. If Jimmy wanted to stick to his guns, if Jimmy wanted to double down, he's not coming on tonight.
That's right.
You know, he would have said it somewhere else, because Disney wouldn't have given him the platform, and it is theirs to give.
That's right.
Okay? I am here for one reason. Perry Sook wants me here. Okay, Sean Compton wants me here. Mike Korn wants me here. If they don't, I'm gone. If they don't like the way I talk to Stephen tonight, right? We get into it because, man, he is bragging about himself, and I should punch him. But if they're like, whoa, Stephen A. matters to us, and the way you talk to him is too much, man. It's not our brand. You're gone. Am I censored? No, that's business, and we know it. So the question is what he does with it. We'll see. But I will say one thing. She says, oh, he's going to double down. I will bet anybody anything. It is not a double down tonight. I promise you that. I don't know what it is. We'll watch together.
But she also alluded to a biasness, and that's where I take offense to.
Wait, hold on.
Sure.
Take it to the break.
Sure.
I'm going to do a tease because, you know, this is the face of ESPN, okay? You got Mickey Mouse, but he's got to turn sideways now for Stephen A. You know what I mean?
I'll turn sideways.
Mickey Mouse is not full front anymore. He's like this, and Stephen A's leaning in with the shoulder because he's all ripped up now.
That's what some people
We're going to come back, what some people say, 4.5 minutes, because I got to tell you something. I think Kamala Harris's book tour and what she's saying out there in 107 days, this is the moment for Democrats. But not in the way you may be thinking. I want Stephen A's take first, but I got something on this. Next. Look, I think it's the same mistake, and let me just be clear. I think Democrats should have won that election.
So do I.
That is my statement about Kamala Harris in terms of, you know, her role in this. I think a Democrat should have won. What do you make of this?
Well, let me play around first by saying, I am not the face of ESPN.
No, too
I was
late.
only joking around.
No.
I was only joking around.
No, you said that stuff about Mickey.
My colleagues are great. I am just a humble servant of broadcasting, just like everybody else. Stop that nonsense. Stop that nonsense.
Now let me. Snow White's overrated.
Stop that. Let me get real serious about Kamala Harris. I'm incredibly disappointed with what I've seen from the standpoint of her promoting this book. Number one, she's saying things that she should have said when she was running for the presidency. She was quiet and deferred to her loyalty and gave Joe Biden much of a bigger voice than she needed to when she was indeed the Democratic nominee. She came across as somewhat leaderless at that particular moment in time, which is something that Trump was pointing out. Then to come out with this book after you lose the election, after you lose the popular vote for the first time for a Democrat since 2004, after you lose every swing state, after young blacks, young Hispanics, and, you know, all of those numbers dipped in Trump's favor because of you. You come out with a book and you're talking about Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, who I interviewed last week. Oh, he was too ambitious. You're looking at Gavin Newsom. You pointed out how he didn't return your calls. You were talking about the tepid response that you got from Michelle and Barack Obama. You know, you talked about Biden and how, you know, it shouldn't have been about egos and all of this stuff. Nobody wants to hear this now. This is the problem. And this is why I believe her political career is over. Listen, I'm not as connected to the political apparatus as you are, but I've had some people come up to me since those quotes from her, the excerpts from her book came out, and they said to me last year, you know what a couple of people said to me? They said, we ain't taking her calls. How do we know that she's not taping them? How do we know she's not taping our phone calls? What are you doing revealing private conversations, okay? This is the kind of stuff that ends up haunting you. And so you like she pointed out, she didn't have as much Democratic support as she would have wanted to begin with. It was all manufactured in the end. Once she was the Democratic nominee, it wasn't about you. It was about people who didn't want Trump to be president. It wasn't about you, and people were enamored with you, and they couldn't wait to go to the polls to vote for you, because if that's the case, you would have made it to Iowa in 2020. You would have been able to endure a primary prior to the election. But you bypassed all of that. They clearly did it purposefully because they didn't want her to have to compete for the Democratic nomination. Nancy Pelosi's on the record saying she thought that the process should have happened. It didn't happen. All of these things that she comes out and she's speaking about now, I think she's doomed. And then last but not least, listen, I got a lot of problems with Donald Trump, a whole lot of problems. I truly, truly do. But I will say this, I can't say the man has done nothing right. I can't say that the border situation hasn't improved. I can't say that I can't ignore that the economy hasn't fallen, that's fallen apart. I'm still waiting for the results of the tariff war, the real results. I'm still waiting for him to resolve the Ukraine-Russian war, and it's nice to see him speak in favor of Ukraine for a change. But to say you can't think of anything that he has done shows the partisanship, how flagrant it is, how unproductive or counterproductive it is, and how she was not the right person to lead this country. And she, as far as I'm concerned, is done in politics. I cannot see the Democratic Party supporting her one iota moving forward.
Whatever that party is, we'll have to see. Three things. One, a window into the reality that two things are true at once. Joe Biden was off his game and ailing, but also completely in control of this. And he held the party hostage until he got to pick who was going to take it if he was going to step away. And he picked her, and I don't know that he had good motives or bad motives in doing it. He would have to explain that. But he wasn't brain dead, okay? He was in control of the whole party through this process, and it comes out in her book. Two, her mistake that may seal her fate is this book should have been about what happens next.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been. That's what a leader does. Here's what I learned from how I got here. That's the short part.
And what she should have owned.
Yes.
And what she should have owned as opposed to pointing fingers.
Take it and then do what Democrats at their best are best at, which is here's how it can be done better. That's how you get Bill Clinton. That's how you get a Barack Obama. That's how you get a Mario Cuomo, frankly, at New York. He was never supposed to win. Nobody wanted him. He was an outsider. You can do it better. That's what this book should have been about. Wasn't. And the one thing that bothers me, Democrats, you are supposed to be the party of the working man and woman. You are supposed to be putting their interests first all the time, every time. Stop saying that's what you're about until you start putting more ideas about it. And the opportunity is there. That's what bothered me about this book. What a missed opportunity.
This is the other thing that resonates with me. You have a bunch of Democrats, a bunch of progressives pointing out how Trump is a populist. Yeah. Obviously so. Well, what's a populist in terms of American history? It's one who basically ingratiates themselves with the common folk against the elite class. Well, he's supposed to be the billionaire that's a part of the elite class, and he came across as more relatable to the common folk
than she did.
Yeah. And she just ignores that. And so now what we have to do is look forward and recognize the fact that we don't need to pay much attention to what she has to say, because not after this book, not after the things she said in this book. We don't need to pay attention to that. What we need to pay attention to is whether it's a Mamdani, it's an AOC with the New York Senate seat, it's those folks, and how much of an impact are they going to have with the vast majority of Democrats in this country who lean toward the center? Are you going to allow the fringe to pull you further to the left, or are you going to pay attention to the vast majority of Americans that are simply looking for leadership? They want affordability, they want safety. This is what they want. Those are the two primary things that they want above all else. Are you going to pay attention to that, or are you going to ignore it? The Democrats have an opportunity to show that they have changed their ways. If they don't do it, they might as well be her, which means non-existent. Because I think with this book, that is what she did to herself. I'm hoping it won't happen that way because I respect her, but I don't see how she comes back from the things that she said in this book.
I think that's
really
why you don't see a lot of Democrats celebrating the book. I think the party knows where it needs to be. I think the midterms are going to be different. I think there's a big opportunity, and I look forward to
Remember,
covering
Governor
it with
Shapiro
you.
said she's going to have to answer. He said she's going to have to answer for the things she said in that book.
That's right.
He said that on my show
That's
last
right.
week.
And by the way, he's going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, but-
Stephen A., you are the man.
All right, Mom.
Thank you very much. Continued success. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 minutes and 15 seconds, all right? Did you watch the memorial? The man who kicked it off was Charlie Kirk's pastor, Rob McCoy. I was really moved by what he said. And a message I don't think has gotten sticky enough. It needs to be repeated, and we're going to do it here next. Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization, now his widow is going to take it over. More than 120,000 requests to start new chapters at America's high schools, colleges. Why? Well, in big part because of the murder and reaction formation to that. But there was another message, okay? You know how I feel about hearing about Erica Kirk reach into the ideal of forgiveness, and how powerful it is coming from somebody who's got every right to vengeance, okay? Charlie Kirk's pastor, all right, colleague at Turning Point USA, actually started Turning Point Faith, is Rob McCoy. He was the first speaker at Charlie's memorial last weekend, and I asked him to come here because I felt that, first of all, Pastor, it's great to have you. Thank you for joining me. And I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
Chris.
I'm sorry for your loss, Rob.
It's all good. We know where Charlie is.
And I thought that you met the moment and you gave a message. There's very little of it, which is odd because, you know, you guys are always talking unity. That's what Christian preachers do. And yet, unless they're those guys who are pushing prosperity gospel all the time. But, you know, we'll save them for another day. But there's been very little of it after Charlie's murder. People are blaming. They want to avenge. You know, and on the other side, they want to talk about what made Charlie unworthy of the recognition he's getting right now. But then there's that through thread that you had about what we have to see in each other and what we have to remember about each other. Why did you pick the message, and how can you make it resonate in these divided times?
You know, that's a great question, Chris. The one thing we were noticing is since Charlie's death, people have been in massive numbers reviewing all of his previous videos. And now they're getting a picture of a man that they have a whole different view of because, you know, his stuff has been truncated or cut and pasted. And now they're coming and saying, I really want to know more about this man. Well, in that aspect, we now have the opportunity to build bridges, which Charlie always wanted to do. I mean, he was labeled as a racist and a bigot, and they witnessed that day, Chris. I mean, if this is a white nationalist, Christian nationalist gathering of Nazis, well, it broke out in worship, and then its leader, whose slain husband, is now saying, "Let's forgive the shooter." That touches people. It doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum of life. That hits the human heart. That's what we're all about.
What do you say to people, Pastor, who twist, or whatever, I won't color it, who say, yes, Christian, but then add another word. This is Christian nationalism that was on display, and that's something that is anathema to America's secular self. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, they're going to label, they're trying to figure it out, or they're trying to, cast aspersions. And the response that I've heard from others is, well, what is the alternative? Secular globalism. When you put the two together, I mean, we're guilty as charged. It's like loving two things at the same time. I'm a Christian and a husband. I love my wife. Yeah, I love my country. It represents 4% of the world's population, but it's had more patents, Nobel Peace Prize winners. It's had 250 years of unprecedented freedom. I do love America, and I love what makes America special is this intrinsic understanding of the freedom of speech. This is why you and I, in a sense, both sides of the aisle, are having a really wonderful conversation, because this country was established with the protection of religious freedom, freedom of speech, freedom to peaceably assemble, and the freedom of the press. And that's what Charlie built Turning Point on, the spoken word. We have to dialogue. Otherwise, we kill each other. And it's awful.
Pastor, I hear you. I think that it's a message that's echoed across much of the majority of this country. It doesn't matter their point of faith. I wish there were no aisle. I wish that parties were illegal in this country, to be honest. I think George Washington was right when he said, be a country, that is all. Avoid the parties. It will allow the few to dominate the many. I think we've seen exactly that. And I think that the more there is conversation and leveling the playing field with responsibility on social media with those companies, there'll be a chance for all messages to have impact. But I wanted you to know, Pastor, I heard what you said. A lot of people did. And it was the right message at the right time. How it's received, how it's twisted, I don't know. I only control my platform. And I was happy to hear it. I'm sorry for your loss, and you're always welcome here, Pastor Rob McCoy.
Well, Chris, first of all, thank you for honoring my friend. And thank you for the joy of just having the freedom to talk. You do a wonderful job. Keep it up. And we're going through life together on this one. I think you were born August 9th. I was born August 10th. I'm your elder in a sense because I'm older. And I think you're the youngest in your family. So we got a lot in common. We're going to have some fun getting to know each other.
Well,
You're
my
a
mother
blessing.
says I was a mistake. So maybe you can
mine
counsel
too.
me through that someday.
Mine
But
too.
mine said it like yesterday. Pastor, be well. Take care. God bless.
Thanks, Chris.
We'll
Bless
be
you,
right
man.
back. I'm telling you, fatigue with the problems is setting in. Who is about the business of better? That will determine the midterms, and it's going to determine a lot about our culture going forward. Leland Vittert picks up NewsNation's coverage right now. There he is.
I just have fatigue.
Just wait. You're young. You're strong.
Yeah. You know, Cuomo, I was coming up to New York, and I was just thinking I should get you a present. And I couldn't decide, though, between a tie, which I have here for you, okay, or socks, which I now notice that you need.
Yeah, I don't wear socks because I got to be ready, man. I got to be ready.
You ready to jump?
Got to be ready to go.
All right, well, if we were sitting next to each other, I'd give you the tie, but...
Yeah, don't. It'll confuse people. It'll break the third wall.
Okay, there you go. All right.
But thank you for that. Thank you for thinking of me.
All right, always. That's what I'm always doing. Chris, great show.